All right, what's happening? I'm going live and I am back in Wisconsin. This is just the worst setup ever. I'm holding. All right, I'm just going to. um, anyway, this is my childhood bedroom, so that's kind of interesting. Um, I have just completed the 9-hour drive from Nashville, and I am in Wisconsin. I have crossed state lines. So, nah, it's cool. Oh, it feels like, yeah. Sorry, man. He said it feels like watching Blair Witch. Yeah. No, it's just this isn't my typical setup. I'm a little bit unnerving right now. Unnerved. Not only that, the my parents' neighbors are just fantastic. Just I cannot say enough about their free range pit bulls and the constant stream of potential drug traffic that rolls into the neighborhood. And every time I'm driving up here, I'm just so happy and excited to come home. And then about halfway up, I remember that they're there, and it's just sort of frustrating. I've got my dog, and this feels like it's an unsafe environment sometimes. But anyway, I had a day off today, but I drove 9.5 hours, so that's got to count for something. I actually wrote in the car by voice text. I was kind of compiling an analogy for how a 9.5 hour a long drive is sort of like comparable to an Ironman and how that breaks down. Biking, Mike. How do you transfer your training run pace into your Ironman race? Um, Transfer your training run pace into your Ironman pace. Well, I mean, there's like my run training. It's all over the map. I mean, I go different paces all the time. I run hills hard. I run hills slow. I run zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, zone 4, mostly zone 2, probably high zone 2, but um, and then transfer that run pace to Ironman. It doesn't happen. No, I'm kidding. It's you got to be. That's kind of a big question. My head is just kind of spinning. There's a lot of stuff going on here at home, but um, yeah, I mean that's $100,000 question, right? The Ironman run. It's always tricky. The only thing I can suggest is you got to come out under control, and then you just got to find a pace, whatever that pace may be. It's just like I'm going to go into that run basing everything on my effort, and my effort from T2 out for the first 3 miles or so will be super easy, zone 1, like very, very slow. I say that, and then the reality of going out in front of all those people and running down State Street is a totally different thing. But I hope to be able to hold back. And then after a few miles, you just want to settle into a pace that feels like something you can hold for the rest of the Ironman. And if by chance around mile 20, some people say 18, some people say 20, whatever it may be, wherever uh, like if you get to mile 20 and you feel like you have been, your energy reserves or whatever is at 90%, then, figure out a way to use them. You've got a 10K left, and just burn that remaining 10% so you hit that finish line with nothing left. I mean, that's the ideal scenario. But yeah, man, I'm just going to be feeling that out the whole time. I'm gonna just from the beginning, if my legs feel good, I'm gonna hold it back, and then I'm gonna sort of settle in and kind of toy around with it. I'll probably, I'm not running with a Garmin, so it's gonna all be by feel. Um, I may kind of like loosely clock some, mile marker to mile marker kind of stuff, but other than that, I really am probably not going to have any idea what my pace is for the overall. I'll have benchmarks when I hit mile 6, and I can look at my watch overall time and see what that is. But um, I think a watch is great to hold you back, but I'm just not going to use it. And I also think that a watch can hold you back. If you're doing something, if you're feeling really good. I'm this week. I've been training really hard for the run, and this week I think I have like 3 10 to 15 minute easy runs. So hoping my leg shape or my run shape is going to be pretty outstanding on Sunday, and I hope I feel it good off the bike. And we won't know until that happens. So, I have seen people kind of be like, "Oh man, I feel," but you gotta be careful because you're gonna always kind of early in that run, you're gonna probably get that feeling like you've got it. But man, I was just thinking about that on the way back. It's like you're driving back and you feel like you're halfway home, but still you have halfway to go. It's just a long day, man. So you got to be careful. I mean, honestly, I've done 6 Ironman, and I've never been able to hold, quote unquote, my pace through the first loop. Or, I mean, I've held it through the first loop, and then after that, it just goes to hell. And for me, it's all about, okay, could I have held a little bit of a slower pace longer in the past? Yeah, maybe. So that's really what I've been focusing on, is just um, trying to get to a place where I'm strong enough to hold a certain pace and finding the right effort level as I'm going to, just make sure I can hang on. But anyway, I'm kind of excited about this little article I'm writing with the voice text on my way home, comparing the drive to a full Ironman, i.e., like the first hour or so. I was imagining what it would be like to be in the swim, and you have to read it to understand what I was getting at. But a lot of stuff like, it's driving 9.5 hours is kind of grueling, and I always just sort of like to compare it in sections to Ironman. So it's there's a lot of ins and outs, and you got to be aware, sort of like you're on the bike, and pulling off into aid stations, things like that. And do you really need to stop? Do you really need to? Are you losing focus? How do you suck it up and keep going? Fuel, whatever. There's just all kinds of stuff I was having fun with, and I hope to have that written in a couple of days and posted, because it's really about Wisconsin and how I think about it. And I kind of use landmarks around the course and my thought process for stuff that I've done in the past and what I hope to do on Sunday. Man, it's 7 days out. It's kind of weird. It's always like this too. It's like that weight of that beast kind of gets. I always used to compare it to like a gorilla in the corner. It just never goes away, and until one day you're just facing it head to head, and something's got to give. But anyway, I'm here. I'm in Wisconsin. I'm going to settle in tomorrow with a little bit of a swim and a super short run. Tuesday's off. Wednesday, I'll be heading to Madison after another easy type of day. And then Thursday's supposed to be off, but I may get in the water like I've been talking about with this congestion business that I've been dealing with after swims. I might swim on Thursday and hope to get a lot of it out of me by race day instead of swimming the day before. Or maybe I'll swim Friday. I just need a little time with it. Hey, Phil's here. 1 week. Yeah, 1 week from today. It's like 9 o'clock. That finish line will be hopping by now. And I'm just, this is a process. I'm in at my parents' house, and that's all good. And now it's just a matter of getting to Madison. Once I get to Madison, that's when I'll start calming down. I think it's just like getting up there and settling in, getting in the room and starting to throw all your stuff out and hoping you didn't forget much. And I packed for a long time, week and a half, 2 weeks. I just started throwing things in bags and stuff like that. I didn't really double check it. And, it's one of those things I would just lay it out. And nowadays you can just get anything you need. So if I forgot something, I'll have to get it. Just hopefully it's not a key item like my kit or something, or my bike shoes or helmet. Speaking of helmet, I forgot to spray paint it. I had a plan, but maybe I can do that here. Mom, she's a pretty crafty sort. So anyway, it's so hot in here. It's like my dad doesn't have the AC on, and there's zero circulation. It's nice outside, but the upstairs here is just brutal. Kind of feel a little bit like Anne Frank or something, just kind of tucked away up in the old bedroom. Adam wants to know, can I take some time this week and tell us what you pack for the race? Yeah, man. No, I'm trying. I mean, I just pack. I've been trying to. The first time I did Ironman, I literally, I think I packed like my whole dresser. I had about 8 bags worth of stuff, and this time it's pretty simple. I mean, I go down the list real quick. For me, it's bike shoes, helmet, socks. I had race belt. I always bring 2 race belts. I always bring 2 pair of goggles. Some like earplugs. And then, of course, I just pack nutrition, and I put a bunch of Ziploc bags in there, and I'll sort of separate that out and fill my bottles while I'm in the hotel. So I kind of do that. I like to make sure I got enough nutrition stuff in either a full package or a big Ziploc bag, and then, just normal stuff like that. I'm trying to think. I've got goo and some Cliff Bars, and obviously my kit that I'm wearing, my wetsuit. There's always a good like checklist somewhere that I've seen. I just, I get to the point where enough nutrition for the whole race. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah and no. I mean, I bring plenty? Certainly, I probably bring more than I need, but um, the I plan on using a lot of on-course nutrition on the bike for sure. Definitely like Gatorades, and then I'll probably bring enough like gels and stuff like that. I plan on using goo on the run and probably EFS gel on the bike. Put it in like a little plastic flask and keep it in my back pocket. But for the most part, definitely enough for the whole race. But I will use a lot of course support, I'm sure. Definitely on the bike. Although I've been kicking around the idea of actually using special needs this year. I don't think I've ever used it, but I'm thinking about maybe, just because it seems like drinking that Gatorade the whole day just really gets on my nerves. And I want to sort of disrupt my taste buds a little bit and go with something that I've been using. I use Scratch, and I'm thinking about putting 2 bottles of Scratch in the middle and picking them up on that bike just to change the pace of the taste. But I don't know how long it will take. I mean, if it's more than a minute to get special needs. Has anybody done special needs before? And I know they're all going to be different, but has anybody done special needs? Phil, have you ever done that? I don't know. I can't remember. I've never stopped at Madison special needs. So if it's like a quick process, I might, if it's less than a minute, it might be worth it. But if it's going to be like some kind of goofy, I can just see myself pulling in there and then having to wait like 15 seconds and just going, screw it, I'm out of here. But I may do that on the run too. I may have extra bottles sitting on special needs for the second loop. I don't know if that's answering your questions, man. I bring a lot of stuff actually. I'm CO2 and tubes and Now that you mention it, man, I could keep talking, dude. It's got like I have a shield for my helmet. I have a clear one and a kind of sunglass tinted one. I've been kind of looking at the weather. I brought arm warmers and a couple different pairs of gloves because it's supposed to be a little chilly. I'm hoping it's not raining. If it's a little cold, that'll be fine. I've got some gloves that work really well for that on the bike. I normally don't wear gloves at all, but with it that cold in the morning, I think it's something to investigate. Do I run with a hydration belt? Yeah, I do. I brought two kinds. I bought one that has just like the one big bottle that you put in, and that's what I normally run with. And I kind of like it because it gives me like a lot of control over what I'm putting in my mouth. I have at the half in Chattanooga, I raced with a belt with two of those little flasks in it with a little bit of concentrated scratch, and I kind of sipped on those. But for a full, I'm thinking, it's a little bit clumsy, the big bottle thing, but I run with it all the time. And frankly, I'm going to be clumsy for the first half of that marathon. I don't think it's going to really affect my legs or any of that kind of stuff. I almost would rather have just access to drink whenever I want it. I always have trouble drinking out of cups at the aid station, and I feel like I never get enough. And this way, it kind of controls. It's a big control variable for me because I know exactly how many calories I'm drinking, and that's huge. And I'll be using goo, um, at least one, maybe two an hour, depending on how I feel coming off that bike. My stomach's good. I'm gonna probably start with like a banana out of T2 and then start going to goo and just use my scratch with the full bottle hydration belt. Yeah. But on the bike, it's kind of like I'm gonna start with a little scratch and I'm gonna throw those bottles and use Gatorade until the end, or maybe pick them up, two more bottles in the middle. That's special needs. I haven't decided yet. I think it's also maybe I might have them there, and it may depend on how the ride's going. If I feel like I'm on schedule or a little bit ahead and feeling good, I might have to stop. But if they're there and I don't get them, no big deal. Phil's never used special needs, not even on the run. I'm also thinking about if I'm going to wear a cap like this. And at Louisville 2 years ago, it was really cold. I didn't wear a cap for the first lap, and then somehow I ended up with one for the second, so that worked out nice. So anyway, but I feel pretty good. I mean, considering I was thinking that I had a little bit better driving stamina than usual, so maybe that's an indicator that I'm in decent shape. And we can hope. And I came home here, of course, and did the customary plow down Tilly's Pizza, which is our favorite since childhood. That's just kind of custom. So I went with it, plowed down a big. Well, I didn't do the whole thing, but damn near. And it's like coming back home and drinking the water from the locals. It always seems to hit the spot. So yes. What's my biggest worry or concern for the Ironman? Aside from oversleeping, I don't know if I have really any worries, man. I don't know how concerned I am either. I just hope that I'm able to sort of execute to the level that I feel like I've trained at. I came to the conclusion that I'm very, I guess, content with what I've done in training. I'm happy with it. I feel like I didn't really skimp. I feel like I gave it a good effort, and I just hope it shows out. I hope it shows because, and I'm sure it will in some way. I just hope everything kind of goes well and it works. And so I'm not concerned. I think I'm really uh, looking forward to the possibility of actually running the full marathon. And I mean, I've always more or less run the whole marathon, except that really hot year at Louisville, 2014, when it was 100 degrees, and I just ended up walking a little bit more than I hoped. But normally I ended up running it, but it's not what I would consider a real run. I mean, for what I hope to do it, and it's just sort of slogging along. But yeah, so that's where I'm at, um, Adam. Thanks, Mike. Rest up. Yeah, I'm gonna. That long drive does take a little bit out of me. I feel actually pretty decent, but I hope I can sleep in this heat bath up here, man. He doesn't want to turn on the air conditioning, but I'm in the attic, and the basement is full of mom's. What would you call them? Gifts from the arts and crafts store she has. So I'm basically relegated to this room, and I do have a fan, so I may try that. But I just don't like fans that much. Anyway, I'm rambling, and I'll be back with you tomorrow and let you know how the swim in Beloit, Wisconsin goes. Thanks for coming in, and hopefully I'll have a better setup, maybe outside tomorrow. See ya.